Hello friends, in today's video we will see about the historical overview and development of regulatory affairs. So what is regulatory affair? Regulatory affair is a profession developed in order to protect the public health by controlling the quality, safety and efficacy of the product. Role of regulatory affair is not only in pharma field but it has vital role in areas including veterinary medicine, medical devices, pesticides, agrochemicals, cosmetics and complementary medicines. Regulation involves extensive evaluation of a particular drug product to ensure protection of public health, promotion of the product, drug registration, marketing, authorization, import, distribution, and pharmacovigilance. So here comes then what is the need of regulatory affairs? A new drug molecule can cost millions of rupees to get processed into a product and get commercialized. A small mistake during development create a greater impact on company's status. The regulatory affairs professional is the only one who is completely responsible for holding products in compliance and maintaining all the records. In short, we can say that a very first step beginning from drug development to its commercialization, each and every step has a vital role of regulatory affairs. Now let us discuss about the history of regulatory affairs, that how it came into an existence and what is its need. Various epidemic and various tragedy disaster leads to which we see here. Diphtheria epidemic led to 1902 Biologics Act Control Act. In 1901, diphtheria patients were routinely treated with antitoxin derived from the blood serum of horses. After 13 children died of tetanus because of contaminated antitoxin, Congress passed the 1902 Biologics Control Act, giving the government its first regulation of vaccine and antitoxin production. Biologics Control Act, also known as the Virus Toxin Law. The act gave the government the first control over the processes used to make biological products or biologics and the responsibility to ensure their safety for the American public. Here the picture shows the horse named Jim was the first horse whose blood serum was taken and was used as antitoxin for diphtheria patients. Coming towards our next step, publication of The Jungle by Upton Sinclair led to 1906 Pure Food and Drugs Act. The Jungle is a novel published by an American journalist and novelist named Upton Sinclair in 1906. Here the book shows the front page with published. Sinclair's primary purpose of the publication was in exposing health violations and unsanitary practices in the American meat packaging industry. Novel The Jungle revealed food adulteration and described the meat industry and its working conditions. When Upton Sinclair's 1906 novel The Jungle revealed food adulteration and unsanitary practices in meat production, public urged Congress government to establish federal responsibility for public health and welfare, and the act came into existence. The Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906 prohibited the sale of misbranded or adulterated foods and drugs in interstate commerce and laid a foundation for the nation's first consumer protection agency, the Food and Drug Administration. Hereafter, the FDA was formed. All the drugs and food were first approved by FDA and then get marketed. After this act, we will see how Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act came into existence. Elixir of Sulfonamide led to 1938 Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act. There was a sulfonamide disaster which caused this act to came into existence. After Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906 we have seen earlier, there was no federal regulatory control in the United States of America ensuring the safety of new drugs. In 1937, a pharmaceutical company named S.E. Messengill created a preparation of sulfonamide using diethylene glycol as solvent and named the preparation Elixir sulfonamide. The company's chief pharmacist and chemist was not aware that DEG is poisonous to human. Company simply added raspberry flavor to the drug which he had dissolved in DEG and the company then marketed the product. Till date, animal testing and pre-market safety testing of new drugs was not required. In October, the American Medical Association received a report of several deaths caused by the medication. The Food and Drug Administration was notified, and an extensive search was conducted to recover the distributed medicine. It was found that DEG means diethylene glycol was responsible for the fatal adverse effect and at least 100 deaths were blamed on the medication. And by this, the act came into existence. Congress government responded to the public outrage by passing the 1938 Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act, which requires companies to perform animal safety tests on their proposed new drugs and submit the data to the FDA before being allowed to market their product. After that, an amendment was made in Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act in 1962 which was the result of thalidomide disaster. The amendment was named as Kefauver-Harris Amendments. Thalidomide first entered the German market in 1957 as an over-the-counter remedy based on the maker's safety claims. They advertised their product as completely safe for everyone, including mother and child, even during pregnancy. Thalidomide was prescribed to treat morning sickness in pregnant women. This led to a serious adverse drug reaction with severe birth defects in the new delivered babies. The drug interfered with the baby's normal development, causing many of them to be born with phocomelia, resulting in shortened, absent, or flipper-like limbs. Here the picture shows the birth of the babies at the time of thalidomide disaster. What was the amendment? The US Kefauver-Harris Amendment or Drug Efficacy Amendment is a 1962 amendment to the Federal Food, Drug and Cosmetic Act. It introduced a requirement of drug manufacturers to provide proof of the effectiveness and safety of their drugs before approval, required drug advertising to disclose accurate information about side effects. The Kefauver-Harris amendments strengthen the US Food and Drug Administration control of experimentation on humans and change the way of new drugs approval and regulation. What was the need of amendment? Before the thalidomide scandal in US or Germany, drug companies only had to show that their new drug product was safe. After the passage of amendment, an FDA new drug application would have to show that a new drug was both safe and effective. After Kefauver-Harris amendment, a biggest tragedy took place in US in 1976 which led to medical device amendments. The Talcon Shield was an intrauterine contraceptive device that women used in early 1970s. It was produced by A.H. Robbins' company in US. The Dalkon Shield was a contraceptive device placed directly into a woman's uterus that was supposed to prevent pregnancy. In 1976, the Dalkon Shield intrauterine device injured at least 9 lakhs women in United States and caused an array of severe injuries including pelvic infection, infertility, unintended pregnancy and death. This scenario led to the existence of 1976 Medical Device Amendments. Let us see what the amendment was. The Medical Device Regulation Act or Medical Device Amendment of 1976 was introduced by 94th Congress of United States. The Title 21 amendments were signed into law on May 28, 1976 by the 38th President of the United States, Gerald R. Ford. Its main objective was to form federal authority over medical devices into a system of regulating the safety and effectiveness of medical devices in proportion to the degree of risk that they pose. Now, in late 19th century, the FDA was given authority to compliance with current good manufacturing practices to officially register drug establishment and implement other requirements. In the meanwhile, Europe, Japan, and US discussed for harmonization and movement towards creating a common market for medicine inside Europe. This was discussed during the International Conference of Drug Regulatory Authorities (ICDRA), which was organized by WHO in 1989. The result of meeting was that establishment of International Conference of Harmonization (ICH) in 1990 takes place. Main motive of ICH was for registration of pharmaceutical for human use and WHO support harmonization on national, regional, international, interregional and international level. Pharmaceutical regulatory harmonization facilitates the availability of safe, effective and good quality of pharmaceuticals. Here are some major regulatory authorities which regulates the formulations. These are in India, CDSCO, Central Drug Standard Control Organization, which was controlled by Drug Controller General of India, DCGI. In US, we have FDA, Food and Drug Administration. In UK, we have MHRA, Medicine and Healthcare Product Regulatory Agencies. In Australia, we have TGA, which is Therapeutic Goods Administration. In Japan, we have MHLW, which is Japanese Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare. In Brazil, we have ANVISA, which means Agência Nacional de Degradation Vigilância Sanitária. Canada, we have Health Canada. In South Africa, we have Medicine Control Council (MCC), and in Europe, we have EDQM, which stands for European Directorate for Quality of Medicine, and EMEA, which means European Medicines Evaluation Agency. So this was all about the history and development of regulatory authorities. Thank you for listening.